All right, welcome back. So in this video, I want to talk about my mission of how I want to improve agents' lives. Like I said, I've been an agent myself for nearly 10 years, so I definitely dealt with a lot of the headaches that most agents have dealt with. So the first thing I want to do is eliminate drive time. I think that right now, I currently live in Houston. We're getting to one side of Houston from the other side. It can take anywhere between 30 minutes to 2 to 3 hours. I remember one time I put on my GPS and it said if I took one road, which is the road I normally take, it would have taken me, there's two roads I take. One goes around the city, one goes right through it. If I would have went through the city, which is what I normally do, it would have taken me an hour and a half. If I would have went around the city, it would have taken me only 30 minutes. So definitely drive time is a big deal. I don't know where you live at, but in Houston, it's a big deal. Another thing I'd like to do is eliminate cold calls. I know a lot of times when we're, agents get burnt out just from making cold calls. I only want to talk to people that want to talk to me, and we'll talk about how we can do that later on. Other thing I want to do is reduce operating costs. There's going to be some operating costs that are going to be hard to avoid, but definitely don't need to rent an office. Definitely don't need to buy a bunch of suits and all the different things that are associated with being an insurance agent. Also want to reduce the lead costs. I want it to be, I set a $0 lead cost goal. I set a goal because I know it's really hard to keep it at that. You may have to buy like a TV or some things for a contest, or you may have to buy tickets to, whatever musician. I almost said Justin Bieber. I don't even know if he's famous still. Or if you want to buy tickets to, the latest band or whatever it may be, or basketball game. But the main thing I want to do also is cultivate agent mastery. I felt like I've done so many different things in the insurance industry. I never had a chance to be a master, like just to be a true master of, even if it was selling, or even a certain product, or even people that are just really good at talking to people in a certain industry. I have a buddy of mine, he's really good at dealing with oil field people. He sells just tons and tons of business to oil field people because he was in the industry himself. So I think if we do some things to kind of cultivate agent mastery, I think it'll open up a lot more doors for us. So first, let's look at the evolution of an insurance agent. So, captive agent, that's the first insurance agents that started around. That was, 100 and something years ago. Whether you're working for the big, 100-plus-year-old companies like the New York Lives, things like that. Obviously, there's still captive agents. The next were independent agents. I don't know where they started. I've seen anywhere between 50 to 70 years ago where agents can work for multiple companies and sell the products that best benefited their customer. But what I want to introduce and bring more of is interdependent agents, and I know there's variations of it of that going on now, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in the next page. So I try to Google an image that I don't know if you've read 7 Habits of Healthy People, or I always say that wrong, but by Stephen Covey. But he talks about the 3 levels of growth. First is dependent, then independent, and interdependent. Now, I'm not saying that captive agents are dependent or they're conformist or anything like that, but we all know that they are limited in how they can market, who they can sell to. And I've seen captive agents that are great at being interdependent. They have a good referral network. They sponsor little league teams. They do a lot of things for their community. They're just great at being interdependent with their community, but they are captive agents. But I also know independent agents that are very conformist. They only do one thing and they're not very good at that. But I also know independent agents that just do one thing and they're extremely good at that. I know independent agents that just sell life insurance and they're just good at referrals. They don't spend any money on leads. So there's always going to be slight variations of all these things, but I also wanted to bring up a couple other examples of how this kind of plays out, because these actually happen in nature too. So if you look at a child, a child's going to start out as dependent on his parents or whoever's taking care of him. The goal is the parents are to have him to be independent. So he may, as a teenager, get a job. May start working somewhere, but ideally his main goal is to be interdependent. Like I said, if he was a banker, obviously he's going to be providing services for the community, or if he's a mechanic or whatever he may be. So ideally we all are interdependent, but as agents we need to cultivate more of an interdependent aspect of it, and I think that's going to be the highest level of growth. But also it happens in nature. Like I said, if you look at a tree is dependent on the soil, the water it gets, and then over time, as it starts to grow and be a bigger tree, it's going to be independent as far as like getting more leaves and roots out to soak up the minerals and to soak up the rays of the sun. But if a tree species is going to be the best species it can, it needs to be interdependent. It's best if it's in a forest where it can provide seeds for other trees, but also provide homes for other animals, vines, things like that. So as we can see here, there's definitely lots of examples of this, and I think being an interdependent agent is definitely going to be the next level for a lot of us, and I think it's going to be a way for us to really be our best version of ourselves. So thank you for watching this video. We'll continue on the next one right after this.